good Thursday morning. We look at what's in Disney's deal to buy a huge part of 21st Century Fox. Meet the advisors who help put the transaction together. The Republican tax overhaul is near the finish line, and the FCC will vote to repeal net neutrality rules today. Want this in your inbox every morning? Here's the sign up. Let's break down the Disney deal with Fox that was just announced. Disney will pay about $29.45 a share in an all-stock transaction, buying a big chunk of Fox business's value at about $66 billion, including debt. Fox shareholders as a whole will own about 25% of the Walt Disney Company. As expected, today's announcement has no mention of a role for James Murdoch at Disney. That may come down the line as he negotiates with Disney. The Murdochs, who own about 17% of existing shares in Fox, will own less than 5% of Disney and won't have any board seats there. What Robert Iger of Disney has to say. What's at stake? Disney wants to bolster its defenses against Netflix and Amazon. The deal will give the media giant another production studio to pump out content for its forthcoming video streaming service. And Fox's international broadcasting operations will extend its reach abroad. A deeper dive. Ben Thompson of Straight Talker takes a look at how effective the response this is to Netflix. He writes, "What has been so impressive over the last few months is the extent and speed with which Disney has seemingly figured it out, and acted accordingly." For Disney, Guggenheim Partners JP Morgan Chase Kravitz Swaine and Moore for Fox, Goldman Sachs Centerview Partners Deutsche Bank Skadden, ARPs, Slate, Meagher and Flomhogan Lovells Simpson Thacher and Bartlett includes the corporate tax rate going down to 21% instead of 20%, the top tax rate going down to 37%, a $10,000 deduction that can be split between mortgage payments and state and local taxes, repeal of the corporate alternative minimum tax, but not the individual AMT. The repeal of the individual insurance mandate, the preservation of tax breaks for medical expenses and tuition stipends for graduate students, a tax deduction for pass-through businesses that largely mirrors the Senate bill's treatment cost. Still unclear. From President Trump, "We're very close to getting it done. We're very close to voting." The Senate holdouts. So far, Bob Corker of Tennessee looks likely to again reject the bill on budget deficit grounds. It's unclear whether Susan Collins of Maine or Marco Rubio are on board after having raised concerns, though neither has raised fresh objections in recent days. The tax fly around. Although Mr. Trump has talked of the tax code drawing companies back to the United States from Ireland, the overhaul may make little difference with investment in the European Union country. Wacko. Even as Jamie Dimon extols the benefits of the GOP tax plan, banks could face higher taxes on important transactions like repo agreements. CO's WSJ Jeff Gundlach of Double Line Capital warned that the tax overhaul could pose problems for the $1.5 trillion market for junk bonds. Market Watch. You can watch the meeting here. This is perhaps the biggest victory yet for the FCC chairman, Ajit Pai, who has already opened the door for more media mergers, curtailed a high-speed internet program for low-income families, and allowed broadband providers to raise rates to business customers. A useful explanation of the net neutrality changes. Jeff Fowler of the Wacko illustrates the issue using airport security lines. The federal has concluded that Republican tax plan isn't economic rocket fuel, though it will modestly improve economic growth. The regulator predicts 2.5% growth next year, up from 2.1%, but not enough to change the Fed's plan for 3 rate increases next year. When told that the president thinks the Republican tax plan could lead to growth of more than 4%, here's what Ms. Yellen said: MS. Yellen's parting comment: "Let me emphasize that correlation is not causation." Looking abroad, Mario Draghi's final European Central Bank news conference of 2017 is today. Here's what to expect. Any final deal on Britain's withdrawal from the European Union will have to be submitted to Parliament as legislation before it can be put into effect. It was a defeat for the Prime Minister, who wanted more leeway to negotiate with the European Union. MS. May is scheduled to be in Brussels for an EU Council meeting, where the Europeans are expected to allow Brexit negotiations to proceed to discussions about trade, amid renewed questions about her authority. On top of that, she is under pressure to explain what exactly Britain wants from an EU trade relationship, even though she has yet to find a consensus within her own cabinet. From Jim Brunson, George Parker and Caroline Bingham of the Fourth Extra Credit, Facebook said that it found no evidence of Russian interference in last year's Brexit vote. Selma Hayek described how Harvey Weinstein harassed her, including by trying to shut down her movie, Frida, which he co-produced. NYT and NYT and Espanol for Women have accused the hip-hop mogul Russell Simmons of sexual harassment and assault. NYT The angel investor Ron Conway said that he tried to warn Hillary Clinton's presidential campaign about getting too close to Shervin Peshawar, who now faces accusations of sexual misconduct. Forbes PBS suspended its airing of Tavis Smiley's talk show amid an investigation into unspecified allegations of misconduct by the host. Mr. Smiley has denied wrongdoing. Variety Meet Rotten Apples, the website that tracks which movies and TV shows have ties to men accused of sexual misconduct. NYT a Netflix executive who dismissed misconduct allegations against the actor Danny Masterson, who starred in the Services series The Ranch, no longer works for the company. NYT only after an Adweek story did employees of the Martin Agency, which created award-winning ads for Chico, learned that their chief creative officer, Joe Alexander, had been accused of harassment. WSJ The documentary filmmaker Morgan Spurlock admitted to committing sexual harassment in the past and that he settled an accusation out of court. Deadline This week's NYT magazine explores the fallout of sexual misconduct allegations and how to move forward. And the NYT gender editor, Jessica Bennett, answered readers' questions. NYT The U.S. Attorney's Office for the Northern District of California confirmed in a court filing that it has opened an inquiry into the ride-hailing giant. "We don't know the nature of the case," but prosecutors told the judge overseeing the trade secrets trial between Uber and Alphabet's self-driving car company that Uber hasn't produced some evidence relevant to that court fight. The next step: a letter from a former Uber security employee, accusing the company of secretly surveilling competitors, is expected to be released, in a redacted form, by the court on Friday. Farhad Manjoo writes in his latest state-of-the-art column, tech giants began to grudgingly accept that they have some responsibility to the offline world. The scope of that responsibility, though, is another matter entirely. NYT A look at how the Philippine government under Rodrigo Duterte uses Facebook to push back against critics. Bloomberg Businessweek Why investment management giants like Fidelity are racing to keep up with Silicon Valley. Bloomberg Target agreed to acquire Shipt, the same-day delivery service similar to Instacart, for $550 million in effort to keep up with Amazon. Recode Apple agreed to invest $390 million into Finisar, the maker of a key component in the iPhone X, to lock up an important parts manufacturer. Axios Microsoft's new partners in AI include Reddit and UPS. And Google has established an AI center in China. Axios and UBS hired Martin Blessing, the former CEO of Commerzbank, as the head of its wealth management unit, marking him as a contender to become the Swiss bank's next chief. UBS also hired Chris Cormier from Bank of America to run its tech, media and telecom equity business in the Americas. Reuters Blackstone has hired Azuko Sakamoto from Bain Capital to build out a leveraged buyer team in Japan. Reuters A major union has won significant job protection and increased pay for about 20,000 AT&T wireless employees. The union has offered to help make the case for the company's proposed acquisition of Time Warner. And Walmart is trying to ease some of the financial strain on its workers by allowing them to receive wages before their next payday, but labor groups say that the company should be paying its employees more. And Atos is continuing its unsolicited bid to buy the security software maker Gemalto even after the company's board unanimously rejected the $5.1 billion offer. Bloomberg When NFL owner signed off on Roger Goodell's 5-year extension, they were looking for continuity. And China has put Jiu Yuding, the tech tycoon, onto an official online blacklist of credit defaulters, which means he can be blocked from flights, high-speed trains and big purchases. And YT Kingdom Holding Company, Prince Alwald bin Talal's investment firm, has become a black hole of information, and all meaningful activity has been suspended in his absence, according to bankers. The rise of economic nationalism is clashing with the open market ideals of the European Union's funders and affecting products from Italian chocolates to German faucets. WSJ Bitcoin made Michael Puter, chief executive of crypto company, one of the richest men in the United States. Briefly, it is yet another sign of the extraordinary popular delusion being created by Bitcoin and the rush for everything crypto, writes James McIntosh. WSJ Tesla is headed for a brick wall, according to Jim Chanos of the hedge fund Kinnikos Associates. Bloomberg want this in your own email inbox. Here's the sign up. You can find live updates throughout the day at nettimes.com/dealbook. Follow Andrew @ or Zorkin, Michael @ and _delay and Ami @ Amasang on Twitter. We'd love your feedback as we experiment with the writing, format and design of this briefing. Please email thoughts and suggestions to bde@nettimes.com.